right, if you have your Bibles, our guys are going to take up their offering. While they're doing that, as you're giving or whatever you're doing, we're going to be in John 16. Now, a couple of things. I'm glad that you're here. I didn't know if anybody'd show up. I didn't know if it would just be me and Tyler and Gary, and they were going to have to listen to me preach while you were home, but that was going to happen. It has been a weird couple of weeks, and I have missed you. I have missed meeting with you on Sunday mornings. And it's interesting because we were determined to have church this past Sunday, and then the weather did different than what I think everybody thought it was, and so we had to adjust that. And we were all talking and calling, and what are we going to do, and da-da-da-da-da, all this stuff. And I said, you know what, here's the deal. We could get online. I could do a sermon online. I could sit in my office at home and do a sermon, no big deal. But I don't want to give it away. We work too hard on these things. I didn't want to just kind of just mail it in. And so we determined that we wanted to meet and we wanted to have church, and I wanted to really preach this message live. And I said, let's do Wednesday night. And of course, everybody was cool with that. JT has been wanting to do a Wednesday night service for a while. He and I both grew up, and Tyler did, I know Gary did, but we grew up where you had Sunday night church, and so we don't do that much anymore, so we enjoyed the opportunity, and you showed up, and so I'm thankful for that. Now, I will say this, the temperature has dropped all day, and as soon as we said we're going to have church, it started snowing again, so I don't know what to tell you. It is, we'll get you out of here so you can get home. It's weird. So anyways, this is 6 ways to waste your new year. Now, here's the cool part. And as I was kind of doing the math on it, the cool part is everything cooperates. You're going to get 2 messages this week back to back, and so that's kind of cool. I get to preach twice back to back, so I'm excited about that. But as I was looking at it, we were supposed to kick off a new series this coming up. Actually, we were supposed to kick it off this past Sunday, but we've bumped, and so this was supposed to be preached 3 weeks ago. Coming up this next Sunday was supposed to be 3 weeks ago. I've had this message for over 3 weeks, just sitting waiting to be preached. And while I was adjusting it and kind of tweaking some things, I've added to it. So next Sunday, we're going to do 6 ways plus to waste your new year. And then the following week, we will kick off our new series. So if you have your Bible, and I want to make the most of our time here, I think I have you. I think Reagan said till 9:15. So we will. I'm just kidding. That was a joke. That was a joke. I was just kidding. I was just just see it if you're awake. I have a little bit of time though. But so, anyways, we're going to look at John 16. If you have your Bibles and you haven't turned there yet, go ahead and get there. People are like 9:15. No, our live cuts off way before that. So I want to look at something. Let's go backwards before we go forwards. And then I'm going to teach this just like I would on a Sunday morning. Although it's on a Wednesday night, it brings out a little different effect. I was telling the guys backstage, I said, you know, my best hours in the day, if you want the best out of me, like the most production, it's between 9 and 12. That's my best hours. And I work way past that, but 9 and 12 is really where I'm killing it if I'm getting stuff done. Sometimes it's 8 o'clock if I get up early enough. After 12 o'clock, it's a 50-50 shot. So I realize you're probably in the same boat, but I really want to study this, and I really want you to get this, because as we think of maximizing your life over the next several months and realizing we've already lived through one in 2026, we got 11 left, we want to make the most of that. And what we do with God's Word and how we adjust our habits, our life, the way we think, we can really make 2026 the best year ever, not only for the growth, but for you individually. And so it was kind of that mindset that we started this. Don't waste the time that God's given you. And we've got a couple of points, and I'm going to give you the first 4 so that you can be reminded. I'm going to go ahead and give you 5 and 6, and then I'm going to talk through 5 and 6. I'm going to go ahead and pull the pen and give my points away. Number 1 was we talked about this, being afraid to take risk in faith. And I challenged you to think about this year, as things are coming up, to not walk in fear, but to walk in faith. And when you walk in faith, a lot of times it feels risky. It feels like it's out of the box. It feels like it's something unusual. And so a lot of times we play it safe rather than playing it risky in faith in Jesus Christ. And so I challenged you on that. Number 2 was this, is believing that you have more time than you do. You will waste your new year believing you have more time than you do. A lot of times we are really good at procrastinating, right? And so I know for me, if I look at my list, PJ puts together my list and my day-to-day schedule. I'll get that 2 weeks in advance. And so I'm looking at what's coming up, what appointments are there. Can I fill in anything else? And then occasionally she'll drop something in there, and I know that's going to be a tough thing that I have to go do. And I'll be honest with you, I put that off because I don't like doing it. But in life, if you start putting things off, you'll never get anything done. And so there's never, you can write this in your notes, this series has got a lot of one-liners, but there's never the right time to do the hard thing. If it's hard, you'll never find the right time. And so the sooner, the better you do it. But believing you have more time than you do. Number 3 is this: remain stubborn and never change or allow for change. And one of the things that we talked about a couple of weeks ago was this stubborn streak that's in a lot of us. A lot of people say, this is just, you knew what you were getting when you married me. You knew what I was about, and so we remain stubborn. And so we don't allow for change. We kind of get in this routine, and it's got to be that way. And so we don't allow for margins to change. And I'll be honest with you, in my life and people that I work with and talk with, the hardest person for God to use and to get the most out of is a person that will not allow God to change them. And a lot of times that isn't a complete makeover overnight. A lot of times that's just a small incremental change. And if you don't believe me, you can pay attention, not necessarily here, I hope, but if we used to make jokes, you've got to be careful whose seat you sit in on Sunday. If you're a visitor, you can get in the wrong seat and somebody will bounce you out of that real quick because that's where they always sit. You ever met that person? Aren't they? They're pleasant, aren't they? We like those folks, but we get in a routine. And so the hardest person to get something out of that God's put in them is the stubborn person. And then we talked about nurturing, comparing, and contempt. And one of the greatest ways to really give away what God's trying to do in you is to compare who you are with somebody else. And then the next logical step to that is if I'm comparing myself with somebody, I'm probably going to have contempt for somebody. So now I have all these feelings towards somebody, resentment or whatever, because I've been nurturing, comparing, and contempt. So we don't want to do that into the new year. My next two are this, and this is what we're really going to dive down on tonight, and I'm excited about it, is this. Number 1 is this, or number 5, number 1. Operating in a mindset of discouragement. One of the greatest ways to waste this year is to operate in a mindset of discouragement. I was looking up statistics and just looking up people. It's amazing to me how many people are just discouraged. And we say things like this, depressed or in a funk or whatever it might be. Sometimes I'll talk to people and I describe it like this. It's kind of like the gray cloud that follows and hovers over them. Discouragement a lot of times is easy to hide because we can smile and people don't realize we're discouraged. We get up and we're kind of like Eeyore, oh gosh, what else? That kind of mentality. What's going to happen next? We walk around in life with waiting on the other shoe to drop. And so there's this discouragement mindset that happens in life. And if you operate in that mindset, and I'm going to show you in just a moment, if you operate in that mindset, it will steal your year. It will steal literal minutes from your life. And yet Jesus, you can put this in your note, Jesus knew, now watch, the default for a broken man, the person stepping out of Eden, the broken human, of flawed individual, the default characteristic of that person, you ready, is discouragement. Because from the beginning, once sin entered, guess what happened? Discouragement. God had to push them out or force them out. And so discouragement comes easy. But we want to talk about that one. And number 2 is being negligent in the opportunity to make a difference. I know that's a lot of words. But literally taking opportunities for granted. And when you take opportunities for granted, now discouragement and this, they run together. When you live a life where you do not take advantage of opportunities, watch this, you'll grow indifferent really quick. It's not me telling you that. God's going to show you that in just a moment. And Jesus is going to show you that one of the greatest ways to really waste, let's just go ahead and bear down. Not just waste your year, waste your life. You will waste your life, not only with the first 4, but walking in discouragement. That's why it feels so good. If you're discouraged and you walk into somebody that's an encourager, it feels good. You want to be around them. right? Because they're the complete opposite of you. You don't know what they're doing different than you, but it feels good, right? But if you live in this land of discouragement, here's what's going to happen is you're going to miss opportunities, then you grow indifferent. And when you grow indifferent, it changes you all over. In fact, what Jesus is going to tell you, you grow cold. We have marriages that grow indifferent. They become discouraged. Husbands and wife become discouraged over time. They stick it out for the kids. They stick it out for finances. They stick it out for whatever, but really they're discouraged. Nothing ever gets better. We get on this cycle. The cycle's never broken. They become discouraged. And I'm telling you, you can set your watch to it. Here's what's going to happen. She's going to do it first, but she's going to grow indifferent towards him. And what that means is she's going to grow cold towards him. And about the time he decides he wants to straighten up, she's going to say, it's too late. And then he's going to spend the rest of his life saying, no, give me a chance, give me a chance, give me a chance. And she has grown indifferent. The worst place in life to be isn't hot nor cold. It's to be indifferent. And so we have generations, we have people here today, you don't realize this, not in your marriage maybe, or maybe in your marriage, maybe with your children, maybe something, I don't know, but you've grown indifferent. And so in this discouragement, and it's really, you're wasting your life. So let's talk about those this evening with the time that I have and encourage you. A couple of questions, I always do this, whether it's Sunday morning or Wednesday night. If y'all behave, we may do this more often. I'm not kidding. We're always trying new stuff. Question number one is this. When was the last time you felt discouraged? I'll tell you when it was for me, is when I just pulled up my radar and it had that big blue band of goodness headed to us. It's literally come. I said, Tyler, when will that be over this dot? He said, what's the dot? I said, that's me. That's my phone. When will that blue be over this? He said, he told me what time. I said, I got to be done 5 minutes before that. All right, so it's discouraging, right? And let me give you some encouragement. 5 Sundays, we get to spring forward. Ain't that good? Yeah, now don't you feel better? All right. So when was the last time you felt discouraged? I don't know when that was for you, and it's probably bigger than radar, but when was that? A phone call, life, bank account, I don't know, health, I don't know what it is. And the number next is this. Does outside noise affect your decision to act? Does outside noise, when I say noise, I mean influences. I mean opinions. I mean thoughts. Do you sometimes feel the desire to do, I said act, but to do something, to be a part of something, to walk in something, to change something, whatever, break that stubborn streak, whatever, but the outside noise affects your decision to act? Why do you say that, Phil? Because this all kind of feeds together. All of this in life, it kind of feeds together, and we don't pay much attention to it. So when was the last time you were discouraged? Does the outside noise affect your decision to act? Well, let's break all this stuff down, and let's look at operating in a mindset of discouragement. Discourage means this. You ready? Discourage means this. To deprive of courage, right? To deprive of courage, hope, and confidence. I love this word right here, confidence, right? You could tell somebody that's confident. I'm not talking about cocky, but I'm talking about somebody that's confident, right? Somebody that just, they believe it. But to be discouraged means the lack of that. And so you say, well, am I discouraged? You say, I wouldn't describe myself as discouraged. Okay, well, let me ask you this, and let's reverse that. Do you have confidence to step out and do it? Well, not really. You're discouraged. I don't know what to tell you. Well, no, I'm not discouraged. I'm an encourager. No. You lack the confidence. And by its very definition, you're discouraged. So a lot of us, we're seeking God's will. We want to do certain things. God's working on us, and we don't take a step forward, and we say, well, I really need to work on my confidence. What we really need to work on is your encouragement, which builds your confidence. If you want to build the confidence of your wife, of your husband, of your child, of your pastor, of your church, if you want to build their confidence, encourage them. The greatest thing as a parent you could ever be, if you want confident children, right? If you want a confident spouse, the greatest thing, husband, that you could be, dad, mom, the greatest thing that you can be is an encourager. Because an encourager builds confidence. Confidence builds your courage. But when you lack confidence, You lack courage, and you become discouraged. To be discouraged means you're intimidated. You're disheartened. A lot of people live behind the shadows, meaning this, there's things in their life, the shadow cast along their life, and they're afraid to do, something intimidates them. They're intimidated to step forward, to step out, to be a part, whatever it might be, and you're intimidated. You're disheartened. It means lack of boldness. And we live in a world where bold is lacking truly. You got to realize this too, and you can do the law of deduction too. If you are suddenly losing a generation of bold believers, guess what you end up having? Do the law of deduction. If you don't have bold believers, and boldness is taken away, and confidence is what builds boldness, and discouragement or lack of courage is what builds lack of confidence, we have a discouraged generation for Jesus Christ. But when you see bold believers, you see courageous individuals. And so when we look at this, when we operate in a mindset of discouragement, right? We kind of just push that away and go, oh, you're always negative. I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer. I don't mean to be a negative Nancy. If you're named Nancy or Debbie, I'm so sorry. You've been associated with that, right? But a lot of times that's what we'll say, and what we don't realize is there's a spirit to that in its discouragement. So how do we look at that? What causes discouragement? Before we even get to John 16, what causes discouragement? And you say, Phillip, I think I am. Now that I'm looking at that, I have kind of lost my confidence. Here's what I'll say is people, they get put on their back foot, right? You ever had somebody challenge you and put you on your back foot quick, right? And now you don't know what to do? And they've lost their courage. What causes you to lose your courage? What causes discouragement? Well, it's this. Number one is fear. The greatest, and Jesus is about to show you this, but fear is the greatest ally to discouragement. This is why the enemy wants to scare you. This is why oftentimes if the enemy wants to pull you down, if the enemy wants to make you less bold, if the enemy of Satan wants to step up and talk you out of something, you know how he talks you out of it? You may think he reasons with you. You may think that he comes in and kind of does the pros and cons. I'm not saying that he doesn't. He does that sometimes. But if the enemy really wants to talk you out of something, if the enemy really wants to keep you on the sidelines, if the enemy really wants to keep you from being what God wants you to be, here's what he's going to do. He's going to scare you to death. And he's not going to scare you by jumping out behind a door and going, I'm the devil, don't do it. He's not going to wake up in the morning, wake you up and have a red unitard on and go, let's get with it. Yeah, he's not going to do that. But what he's going to do is he's going to step into your life. He's going to remind you of who you were. He's going to create all kinds of doubt inside of you. He's going to make you timid. He's going to make the thing that God's calling you to be a part of seem bigger than you could ever be a part of. He is literally going to scare the courage out of you. And most of us don't realize it, but when we become fearful, you become discouraged, and once he's got you scared, he's got you. He's got you. He's got you on your back foot. And that's when we begin to go the wrong way. And so one of the greatest causes of discouragement is fear. If I talk to somebody and they go, I really feel like God's called me to do this with my life. Or recently I had somebody came up to me and they were talking to me about something they've always wanted to do, but they were kind of in that midlife age like me. They were kind of in that, I'm not even midlife anymore. I'm way past midlife if we do the stats, but I like to think I am. And they said, I've done this job for so long, but I really want to do this. This is my dream. And I wanted to talk to you. And I said, don't say another word. You do not want to talk to me. And they said, why? Because I said, I don't know what you want to do with your life, but I'm going to say, do it. Well, you don't even know. I said, doesn't matter. Do it. And they were afraid. You see, because everything in their life, that reasonable human being, that responsible human being, all the things that the enemy hits them with, how are you going to pay for this? How are you going to provide for this? How are you going to do for this? It strikes fear. And once he's scared you, you're done. And you live with, I should have, and I wish, and all those things. And so a lot of times whenever you didn't ask for this, but I really want to see bold men and women and believers and teenagers. And the only way we're ever going to be bold is not by having all the answers. The only way we're ever going to be bold is not by seeing all the directions. The only way we're ever going to be bold is when we get over our fear. The only way you're ever going to be able to step out is when you step out of that fear. And so, I don't know what it is that got you scared today. Scared of commitment, scared of moving, scared of whatever. The second thing is it causes discouragement is failure. If you happen to get over your fear and then you fail, I promise you this, you'll think twice the next time it comes up. Because failure will hinder you. Unless you look at failure in a way that John Maxwell, that great leader, had a chance to meet John Maxwell one time. If you've never met John Maxwell or read his books, you ought to if you want to learn how to lead. I went to a youth conference one time, and John Maxwell was talking. And he was up on stage. I bought a book. Me and my mom was there, and I said, I want to get John Maxwell to sign the books. He was signing the books during the middle of the conference, and there was thousands of people there, and I stood in line. And I walked up on stage, and John Maxwell was sitting there just like this, and by this point in life, I bet he's written 150 books. I don't know how many he's written, but he's written a bunch. He's trained a lot of leaders. And I came up and I said, Mr. Maxwell, will you sign my book? And I don't even know if I was 12 at the time. I don't know how old. I was probably Memphis's age. And John Maxwell was signing all these books. And so I handed him my pen and my book. And he stopped and he looked at me. And he said, what's your name? And I said, Phillip. And in an instant, he goes like this. He said, turn my mic on. I was standing with him. And he said, everybody, can I get your attention? Because everybody's kind of moving around the auditorium. And I thought, oh, I've done it this time. My mom's really going to whip me this time. I don't know what I've done wrong, but I've done something this time I'm going to have been talking to, you know. He said, everybody, this is Phillip. Phillip, how old are you? And I can't remember what I was. I was 12. And he said, this young man right here, I just met him. He said, but he's going to be somebody one day. God's got big plans for Phillip, so I want you all to see him right here because one day he's going to grow up and make Jesus proud. And that's all he said. And everybody said, oh, yes, that's Phillip. Yes, oh, yes, 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 yes. And so he signed my book. I'll never forget it. And so he gave me courage. And guess what? He gave my mom courage. And my mom thought, and then I reminded her when she wanted to get on me. I was like, John Maxwell said, you better not touch me. I have the anointing. You know what I mean? Like, get off of me. Right? John Maxwell said, when you fail, failure's not the problem. It's what you do next. In fact, there's been a lot of people whose lives have turned out to do great things through the failure. Failure's not your enemy. Failure is your greatest teacher. But the Christian church is a disgusting display sometimes of how we treat failure. We penalize people who have failed for eternity. And yet Jesus Christ says, now I can really use them. And you take somebody who's experienced failure, who the Holy Spirit has come in and changed and straightened up and sent them back out. Now you have somebody with courage that can change the world. So if you're sitting there with failure, listen to me. Don't just say, I can't. Don't be discouraged by it. Get up. Let God use the failure to promote you to who you're supposed to be. What else causes discouragement? Lack of support. If you look around the room and it's only you in there, it takes guts to keep going. But you need to be reminded of this, is when God calls you to do something, He called you. He didn't call everybody else. So if you're looking for support, don't look around, look up. You don't have lack of support. You got the best support ever. It's the one that called you. Negative self-talk. One of the greatest ways to become discouraged is by what you say to yourself and what you hear yourself say. It's amazing how many conversations I have in my mind. If I see somebody's name on my list of meetings a day, and just like today, I'll have 5 or 6 different meetings, and I look at those names and I get my bearings in the morning, and as I'm, getting ready and doing whatever, I'm looking at those names, and I begin to think what my meetings are going to be like, right? I'm visualizing, I'm walking through it, I'm thinking about it. It's amazing how many storylines are going on. C.J. Mahaney said one time, he said, we need to spend less time listening to ourselves and more time talking to ourselves. And a lot of times we are listening all the bad stuff, but what we really need to be doing is talking all the good stuff from Christ into our life. Discouragement, what others are saying. Would you have the guts to say this? I'll do whatever God's called me to do despite what everybody else says. I say that. It's easy to say. I'm going to step out on a limb here and tell you, you're probably not that brave. You think you are. I'm telling you, if you ever get past your fear and take a step, if you ever stop listening to yourself and start talking to yourself, I'll tell you the next thing that'll get you is what other people are saying. It's amazing how people I'd never take advice from can talk me out of doing something that I want to do for Jesus Christ. And I'm telling you right now, one of the greatest discouragements is what everybody else is saying. Why do you think when somebody wants to get on to you, here's what they'll say. You know, people are saying. You ever asked them who? I was in a meeting with a guy not too long ago. He said, you know, there's some folks that I said, who are they? Well, just some folks. I said, name them. Dead in his eyes. Well, I said, well, who? I'm here, you're here. You called the meeting and I ain't leaving. Who? And you know what is funny? I still don't know who he is. You know why? Because there are no people. There's no one else talking. It's him. It's in his mind. And negative folks will assume that other people believe their negativity. So when they come to have a meeting with you, they bring all these people that they've never talked to but believe they feel how they do to drop that on your feet. Don't believe that. One of the greatest ways the enemy wants to scare you is to make you feel that everybody feels this way. That's not true. In fact, Jesus says, I'll take the 2 over the 10. I'll take the ones who do over the ones who say they can't. So if you want to get over your discouragement, stop worrying about what other people say. I say that so easy, but it's so hard to do. We care. Past experiences will cause you to become discouraged. Others' inability to accept or encourage your endeavors. One of the hardest things that will cause you to be discouraged is when you get yourself amped up, you get through all these kind of steps and you're like, all right, and then nobody else believes in what you believe in, right? If you ever step out encouraged to do something and no one follows, you'll be hard-pressed to stay out on the limb by yourself. It's hard to be there, but you have to move past that, and don't be discouraged just because nobody else accepts what it is that God's called you to do. I put this in here. This is really cool. It's a German proverb, meaning somebody in Germany came up with this, but fear makes the wolf look bigger. And it's true. When I'm afraid, it makes it look bigger. David said it this way. You want it to be a biblical thing? Here's what David said. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. He says, I want you to know, shadow of death, that thing death, that downward feel, that discouragement casts such a big shadow that it literally makes me feel like I'm in a valley. It hovers over me. And see, that's what discouragement does, is it makes you feel like you'll never get out. It makes you question who you are. It makes you question what you're doing. It makes you question whether you can. It makes you question Jesus Christ. And one of the greatest ways is to waste your life and to waste your years, to live discouraged, to operate in that mindset. Jesus said it this way in John 16. John 16, Jesus has been talking to his disciples. And in fact, he's calling out some Pharisees. And then in John 16, they're starting to talk about kind of the end days and Jesus returning, just some things that'll happen. Jesus is talking about some temples that are going to be torn down and all these kind of things. And the disciples, being the disciples, ask him a couple of things. And then they say this, in that day, you will ask in my name, right? And he says, listen, I'm going away. I am going away. I am going to ascend into heaven. I'm going to go away. He says, in that day you will ask in my name, and I do not say to you that I will request of the Father on your behalf. For the Father himself loves you, because you have loved me and have believed that I came from the Father. He says, I came forth from the Father and have come into this world. I am leaving the world again and going to the Father. His disciples said, lo, now you are speaking plainly and are not using a figure of speech. Now we know that you know all things and have no need for anyone to question you. By this, we believe that you came from God. I mean, he's about to be crucified. He's about to ascend into heaven, all the things. And they finally, his disciples, can you imagine spending 3 years and they go, we know now that you came from God. Hey, you're Jesus. You're about to be crucified. Wouldn't you think you'd be a little bit irritated with these guys, right? Well, they're committing. Jesus says to them, do you now believe? You believe now? And he's about to say something that is it's incredible. He says, if you think it was hard to be a believer when you had me, let me explain something to you. It's about to be really hard to be a believer when you ain't got me. If you think it was hard to stick it out while I'm here with you, you can see my face, touch my hand, smell my breath. If you think it was hard then, you ain't got a clue. In fact, he said it this way. Jesus answered him and said, do you now believe? Behold, an hour is coming, and has already come, for you to be scattered, and each to his own home, and to leave me alone. You think you believe now, you have no clue. What's going to scatter them? You ready? What's the first thing? What did I tell you? First thing of discouragement. It's going to scatter you. You're going to run. And yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me. And then he says these words, and this is where we're headed. These things I have spoken to you, so that in me you may have peace. In the fear, in the discouragement, when you're afraid, I want you to have peace. And then Jesus tells these words, and it's incredible. I want you to pay close attention to what he says here, because if you read it, it doesn't read right. The wording isn't right, but it makes sense when you understand it. Well, pay close attention. In the world you have tribulation, but take courage. I have overcome the world. Jesus tells the disciples something that translates into what we know today. And here's what he says. This really, right here, in the world you have trouble. It really says, in the world you, and right here, it's understood, is will. In the world, this is here, is this. In this world, you will have, this word tribulation, it means trouble. It means, I'm about to show you what it means, just a second what it means. He says, I want you to know there is a guarantee, and you need to write it down. If you're thinking, well, I could operate in an encouraged mindset if I didn't have all these issues, boy, I could really get something done if my luck would change. I could really, if I didn't have to fight all the wolves off, I could really, Phillip, it's not fair to you to talk about me being discouraged. You know what I've been through? I don't know what you've been through, but let me tell you what Jesus says. In this world, you're going to have trouble. And in fact, here's what he says. I put this in my notes, and I like the way I said this. I thought this was the best thing to tweet out. You don't have to worry about trouble finding you. People say, be careful where you go, trouble will find you. Sister, let me tell you, you don't have to worry about trouble finding you. It already found you. It's not a matter of whether trouble's going to find you. You can write it down. You can either get in a fight, you can either buckle down and battle, you can either go for it, you can either put your chin up and say, I'm going to fight my way out of this, or you can surrender to it. But I'm telling you right now, it's not a matter of whether trouble's going to find your children, find your marriage, find your church, find your job. Trouble has already found you. It's just a matter of when it reveals itself. You see, so many people want to live life safe. I don't want trouble to find. Trouble has found you. When he fell from heaven, when he became the prince of the power of this air, he found you. And the day that you took your breath and were born into this world, and somebody gave you a name, and that's what they've called you, trouble found you. Trouble found you before you ever made a grand appearance. And trouble's been finding you ever since. And until you take your last breath and take your first breath in heaven, trouble will always be breathing down your neck. And so the question is, what are you going to do about it? And the answer is most people roll over. In fact, most people live in discouragement, and they hold the bold ones back. And they say things like this, well, you got to be easy. You got to be careful. You think about it. From the moment that we're raised, what are we taught? First couple of words we ever hear is no, don't, stop. One of my favorite things that I've always said, you better be careful. You're going to hurt yourself. Right? You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to hurt yourself. See, told you. Hurts, don't it? You understand what I'm saying? We teach our kids from an early age. We play it safe. Get down from that. You're going to break your neck. Get down. Don't stand on that. What are you doing? Think about it. Kids are the opposite of that. If you've raised kids, they see a bed, what do they want to do? Jump on it. They didn't learn that from you. They weren't 2 years old and walked through the house and seen you as a grown person jumping and hitting your head in the fan. No, something inside of them, and if they did, trouble found you. But here's the deal. They naturally want to do that. They naturally want to walk out into the water where they'll drown themselves. They naturally want to get into a car, a little vehicle, and press the gas and go. They naturally want to do that. We spend our whole life changing that mindset to play it safe. And you think if you'll pick your Bible up and if you'll go to church and if you'll give your tithes and if you'll do all this stuff and if you pray real diligently, you might be able to walk all the way to heaven with a force field around you and trouble never finds you. That's not what the Bible says. That's why our faith is broken when we have something bad happen to us. That's why we lose our minds when it's not going our way. That's why we wonder what we did when the other shoe fell. You were born. That's what you did. And you live in the prince of the power of this air's world. Brother, trouble found you. And you ain't getting out of here without it. And what Jesus says is, I've told you these things so that you may have peace. It's not that trouble goes away, it's that I can walk through troubled times in peace. And Jesus, He don't want you just to walk through troubled times going, He wants you to walk through troubled waters boldly. As if the enemy messed up when he picked at you. Did you hear what I said? We duck and weave. Oh, he might see who. He knows who you are because he knows who lives in you. And you can't walk around tiptoeing. Jesus says, I want you to have peace, but take courage. See, then he gives us this promise. And I'm just telling you, this is what I like about John 16:33 is if you get this, it'll change the way you live your life. You become the disruptor. You become the wild card. You become the one that makes people uncomfortable. Because Jesus says, I want you to have peace and I want you to take courage because I have overcome the world. Now, if all that is true, brother, let me ask you, what do you have to be afraid of? If Jesus is everything that he said he is and has done what he said he's done, I shouldn't sit here and shake in my boots because of trouble. I ought to stand up, put my shoulders back and say, let's go. Because he's already overcome it. Do you realize that when I walk through a battle and Jesus makes it flat, it's not because I did something great, it's because he'd already overcome it long before I stepped into it. You walk into... Anyways, I got to move. When you face a hard time, don't let it stare you down and make you scared. Jesus has already flattened it. He's already overcome it. Keep walking. Don't be afraid. Tribulation means this, it's pressing. Now, remember what he said right here. You're only going to get 1 point because I'm going to let you out. Let me finish this one, though. In the world, you have tribulation. You will have tribulation. Here's what it means. Tribulation is a Greek word, thalipsis. Thalipsis, it means pressing. So you want to know what that tribulation means. So see, if I say tribulation to you and I hadn't read that to you, sometimes in our real biblical mindset, we think of tribulation and we see like the end times. And we think of tribulation that way. And that's true. That's one way of looking at it. And sometimes when we use tribulation, because tribulation isn't a word that we use daily. It's just not a word that you use. So take that word and set it over here. Let me show you what it means. Because he says, in this world you'll have tribulation. Well, what is tribulation? Here's what it means. This is what trouble looks like. It's pressing. It's pressure. It's oppression. It's stress. Distress. Did you know that the stress that you live under is literally tribulation? And when you go to bed and your chest is heavy, You wake up in the middle of the night and you can't get it off your mind, brother, you in a spiritual attack. You don't think of it that way. You think if I can just figure it out. And the enemy's got a hold of you. When you're going through life and you feel the pressure of, I don't know what that pressure is all about. You know what it's about, but whatever, to make a decision, to do a thing, whatever, maybe you're getting pressure from all sides. That literally is what he's talking about. In this world, you're going to have that pressure. You're going to be pressed. The word oppression literally means to be oppressed. It means that something is on you and keeping you down. You can't get out of it. It could be your health. You feel like it's just got you down. It could be something. I don't know what it is. It's got you trapped. Some people get trapped in behind generational sin. And you can't break the cycle. And so you spend your first 16 years saying, I'll never be like Dad. And you spend the next 16 years and you go, I'm just like him. And you go, I can't break the cycle. I mean, what's the use? It is what it is. You are walking in a spiritual battle, but Jesus has overcome it. The stress, the distress. Do you see these words? Emotional, physical, mental, spiritual. It's the very words that fill up a counselor and a therapist and a psychologist and a psychiatrist daily schedule. It's the very thing that we walk into a room to talk to somebody about, and we don't know what's going on, and this world will tell you is this and that and whatever. And Jesus said in John 16 to his disciples and the rest of us to come, listen, I'm telling you, in this world, this is what's coming. Don't be shocked, right? Now, I get stressed. I don't know if anybody else does this. I get stressed and then I get worked up. Anybody else get worked up? Yeah. Ugh. You can tell when you're talking to somebody that's worked up too, right? Yeah, or they're texting you and it's all caps. You know, it's funny, you know. But these words, look at these words. This is where we live. This is where our society lives right now. Pressure, oppression, stress, distress. It's exactly what Jesus said was going to happen to us. It is exactly the same thing that Jesus said he's already overcome. It's the outward pressure squeezing in. He says, but take courage. It means to be of good cheer, to be bold. Jesus says you want to know what the medicine is when you feel that, when you're walking into that. And guys, I'm not making light of that. I'm not telling you that that's going to happen and it's kind of like, oh, well. That's not what I'm saying to you. What I'm saying is it's time that we lift our faces up and go, hang on a minute. Jesus said this was coming. And I've got to do something. And most of us want to run back. I'm just be honest with you. JT, come on. Most of us want to run back and jump into bed and pull the covers over our head. I'll try again tomorrow. We live and I'm not an anti-medicine guy. I do a lot of studying and all that stuff, and I know people have to take medicine. I take my own medicine for different things. But here's what I'm telling you. We live in the most medicated generation of the world ever. And what we are looking for is quick fixes. And we want the stress to go away, and we want the hurt to go away, and we want the trauma to go away, and we want the pressure to go away, and we want our marriage fixed, and we want all this stuff, and we want our bodies to change, and we live in this day and time. And guys, listen to me, it's not going to get, I'm not a doomsday guy, it's not going to get better, it's getting worse. And so what's happened is what Jesus stood in John and talked to his disciples about. We're living in it, and we all walking around here shocked. Like, I can't believe it. And Jesus said, I told you. And we don't know how to push through it. And what's happened is, the reason I say that is because once you have an individual that way, once you have individuals that way, once they begin to believe that way, they're discouraged. And once they're discouraged, their confidence is gone. And Jesus says, take courage. Here's the words in one translation. Be of good cheer. Oh, thanks, Jesus. Sounds fun. You don't have to worry about trouble finding you, Phillip. Why is that? Because it's already found you. And it's going to stress you out. It's going to distress you. You're going to feel like it's pressing on you. You're going to live under pressure. It's all going to be there. But be happy. Well, you crazy. Right? It's like when your mama used to spank you and said, if you cry, you don't suck it up, I'll give you something else to cry about. How do you do that? Jesus says, I want you to be take courage. And then he goes on, and the word here is bold. I want you to be bold. And here's the reason he says to be bold, right? Is because I've already overcome it. Whatever, I put this in my notes, whatever or whoever is squeezing you. I don't know what the whatever is, and I don't know who the whoever is, but whatever it is in life that is squeezing you, I'm telling you right now, you know what it is, write it down, look at it, and here's what Jesus says, go ahead, get happy. I can't, it's got me down. I need you to look up, I can't, it's just wearing me out. I need you to change your mind. It's going to give, I just have a hard time believing it's been like this so long. He says, I'm telling you, be of good cheer. Why? Because whatever you're thinking of right now, whatever you wrote down, Jesus has already overcome it. I don't care what it is. Whatever it is, he's already overcome it. And if that be true, why on earth would I walk around with my head down and fearful of what God's called me to do? Why would I be afraid of what others might be saying? Why would I not walk in boldly into a room like a lion, knowing that what Jesus has asked me to walk through, he's already trampled under his feet? All Phillip has to do is lift his chin, put his shoulders back, and take a step, because Jesus Christ says, be bold, I've already overcome. So whether it's your marriage, whether it's at work, whether it's God's will for your life, I don't know what it is. How do you get your courage back? Let me give you these, and I'm going to pick up Sunday. You ready? Y'all got a head start for Sunday. You want to get your courage back, be bold? On the way out, here it is. Number one, shift your thinking towards Jesus. I would love to have a bold church where we're just bumping into each other. You know? Let's do it. Why not? You know? Shift your thinking towards Jesus. Here's the thing. Whatever's got you stressed out, whatever's got you down, whatever's pulled you down, whatever that is, and I'm not making light of it, here's the thing. Put it down. Either Jesus is capable or he's not. That's it. You can spend years, and believe me, if you want to pay me for my service every week for me to help you believe that he did it, I'll do it. You can pay me, I'll sit and talk with you. But I'm telling you right now, there's a faster way to that conclusion, and this is it. Either he's capable or he's not. And if he's not, then we're all doomed. If he is, pick your face up, let's go. Come on. Don't waste another minute. Don't waste another year. Don't waste another moment. Put your face on Jesus. Next is this. Put your trouble or stress in perspective. Here's what I do with folks that really struggling with whatever the thing is. Whatever the thing. Here's a way. If you talk to me, here's what I'm going to do. Go to the worst case scenario. What's the worst case scenario? Here's what I'll ask. What's the worst thing? Give me the worst case scenario. And once you say it out loud, we go, okay, there it is. That's what we're afraid of. Let's work backwards. My mom used to always say this when I was afraid. She'd say, Phillip, they can't eat you. I was like, yeah. I don't even know what that meant. Yeah, I've said in a lot of hard meetings, go, well, you can't eat me. That's illegal. You'll be on Dateline. You know, but she was trying to make me, be courageous. Like, get to it. What's the worst thing can happen? What's the worst thing can happen? Okay, now that I've said it out loud, so what? Let's move backwards. And Jesus is bigger than it. Next is this, change the channel. Oftentimes we get hung up on a thought. And the enemy has scared us with this one thought. Whatever that thought is, you got to change the channel. Stop. Right? Here's the way, you know what I'm talking about. You ever had a child come to you, they want something, and you've already answered them, right? And here's what I'll say to my sons. My daughters know this. If you ask me again, you ever said that to them? If you ask me again. What that means is I've already answered you. It's not going to change. Jesus has already answered us. Change the channel. He change the channel. Think of something else. Next is this. Stop trying to figure out what you're supposed to be learning or why. I know that sounds very... You say, wait a minute. You're supposed to be aren't we supposed to learn? Listen to what I'm telling you. A lot of times when we go through things that challenge us, that hurt us, that are big, here's what we do. I sit with so many people, they're trying to figure out what the lesson is. What's God trying to teach me? And you get hung up right here in the why section and looking for what the reason is. Listen, I put this in my notes. It's not that you can't be aware and learn from what you're going through. I'm the one that said, hey, listen, if you're going to fail, learn from it, move forward. But when we go through things and we start getting down, listen, if you stop just looking and God's going to have to show you why before you'll never move forward. Oftentimes the lesson doesn't come till later. You're looking for something that you're not going to find till later. So stop doing that and move forward in faith. God will show you. It may be years down the road, but don't get hung up looking. Your search for reasoning can become an obstacle. And a lot of times when we're struggling and we've lost our courage and whatever it is, we're looking for reason. We want reasoning, and that becomes an obstacle in itself. So get up, stop looking for that, and trust God and move forward. Number next is this: don't allow others' disbelief to shake your belief. If you try to answer all the skeptics, you'll inadvertently create doubt in yourself. One of the greatest ways the enemy, if you won't doubt God, here's what he'll do. He'll cause others to doubt you. And when you try to answer their doubts, you'll start to doubt yourself, which ultimately cause you to doubt God. Last thing is this. Last couple of things. Cling to the source. I love this. If Jesus can put it in you, he most definitely can get it out of you. If he's called me to it, he'll get me through it. If Jesus can put it in me, he'll get it out of me. So if you're created, I love this. If you were created by Jesus for this, then you can't realize the full effect of that unique creation until you do this, whatever this is. You can't stand there and be scared. You're not going to see your full potential till you get over, become encouraged, and do what it is that God called you to do. Number next is this: trust. If you really want to see Jesus move mountains and do the impossible, surrender. Surrender to it. Stop fighting and surrender. I'll talk more about this on Sunday. It's a big thing for me right now, but surrendering. Have you ever noticed how much Jesus gets done when we go to sleep? You ever noticed? You ever notice how you go to bed stressed and wake up in the morning and go, I think it's going to be okay? He's doing his best work when you get out of the way. Find someone to reinforce what you know to be true. One of the greatest things that you can do, I got to be done. I got to get you home before snowpocalypse gets you again. If you want to get your courage back, one of the greatest things, Jesus said this, be of good cheer. And we'll pick up in 4 days on Sunday. One of the greatest things you could ever do is surround yourself with people that believe it. Jerry Falwell used to say this, and it's got in my heart a long time ago, and it's never left me, and I'm just telling you right now, it's still in me. And I'm thankful that he said it, because it makes me bold sometimes when no one else can in the room. But here, I'm just telling you right this. You write it down. If you fail to see it before you see it, you'll never see it. And if you really want to see Jesus Christ move and do something great in your life, if you really want to see courage and you really want to walk through the things that he's already overcome, you got to see it before you see it. And you got to believe it before you have it. You got to know that Jesus Christ is going to do it. And what you have to do is surround yourself with other people that on your worst day, when you're discouraged, they pick you up and they believe and they encourage you. And here's the way I describe it. I want to be around people that help push me along, encourage, so that when we see God do it, they're standing at the finish line saying, I told you he'd do it. That's the kind of person that I want in my corner. God, I love you. I thank you so much this morning. Don't let us waste our life by walking in discouragement. Jesus, I know there's men and women within the sound of my voice watching online. They're discouraged. I don't know what it is. It could be in their marriage. It could be in their health. It could just be in life in general. I don't know. It could be in accomplishing what you call it. I don't know. But they've lost their confidence. They've lost their way. They've lost their boldness. And God, I pray that the person that is hearing this message tonight, I pray that they'd take John 16:33. I pray that it would saturate their soul. And I pray right now, no matter where they are, who they are, what they're doing, what they're called to do, I pray right now you'd make them a lion for you, make them bold. God, lift that spirit off of them, that fear. But God, give them that spirit that you have that makes them walk in a room. When everyone else bows out, they move forward. When everyone else says it can't be done, they believe. When everyone else is fearful of taking the step, they gallop towards the ending. It's not because of what they can do, it's because of what you've already done. And God, may we walk in your faithfulness. May we walk in faithfulness to you. And may we walk over trampled land that you've already overcome. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen. Let's stand, let's sing for a moment of invitation.